I've got a lot of messages coming in. The bees are speaking and buzzing. I've been all over the show today. It's the way it goes. And I never know how I'm going to get, what wants to come out or how to go about it. And this has pretty much been me all day, is that I know I want to get a message out, I know a message wants to come out, and I'm trying to get into the flow of allowing it to come out, and all the things, like I overthink it and I piss fart around trying to, I guess, control it, or I don't know, do it right or something. And it's taken me like freaking 3 hours to get to this point, to allow it to just sit and allow something to come out. I'm just going to say what is coming into my brain, don't know what it's going to be. I'm just going to try this, okay? So they say, hey, how's your day? Wear the rays on a summer's day. Can you lay and play with the rhymes we may like to give today, just to say hey, to give peace a chance? We're at a glance away from beside you, ride the tide. Now we're relaxed. So, no reason to hide what resides inside the mind. It's high time we release the grip of the mind. Okay, so now we say we would like to discuss the blue bus. What's on the blue bus? The rising minds, the awakening kind, are on it with us. To trust, we must release the pressures that bind, the precious kind of minds, like those that reside behind the line. Of conscious mind in time. The unconscious mind, made conscious kind. The autistic mind, the letters spelling kind. The telepathy tapes, the mistakes we make, seeing unclear, for clarity's sake. Those tapes clear made easy, to tease we play. On the hill today, we taught a thought. Max, relax. Relaxes. Backtracks. The miraculous, gifted minds. Unkindly remind me the oracle the stones we laid in mines we played, the metals and minerals. These are the games we play to relax the mind, to say what needs to be said, from those willing to be read. We dread the ridicule of those unschooled, those who rule to unschool the naturally cool kids, the ones that swim, beneath the rim, the mind line, that bit about the unconscious, the lake. Pythia, Pythism. Prism. Okay. Go with whatever you want to say. Okay, so I think they're getting at, so like, I recently posted a couple of things about the links to the telepathy tapes, which is about the recent developments with autistic, non-verbal autistic individuals and the techniques they're using in order to help them communicate through, in their tapes they call it letters spelling, which is, I'm guessing, assuming that they give the kids, the people, the time and the space and help, assistance to be able to point or direct to letters in order to spell and communicate. And they found, like, when doing this, so the first thing was, I think the first initial thing that they got to that was that, or maybe I don't know which way I can't remember. You'll have to listen to the telepathy tapes because it explains it better than what I can. But anyway, I guess what we're saying is that it's now kind of known that the non-verbal autistic and autistic individuals have this telepathic ability, especially with the people that are closest to them. And then they also have realised that by allowing them to communicate through letters and spelling, that they're highly intelligent, connected to all very spiritual messages have come through these individuals, and they've started communicating some amazing things, and a lot of the ways they communicate is in rhymes and prose, like poetry, which is really interesting because that's what I've started doing, and that's what so many creatives out there, like, you look at all the writing, you look at the Bible, I mean, you look at Shakespeare, you look at songs, hymns, you look at, gosh, so much is in rhyme, rhythm. Why it comes through like this, I am not sure. Maybe because it is more flowy and it's coming from a place that is of the flow. It is from the lake, it is from the waters. I don't know. Maybe it allows our brain to link and think, and it can have multiple meanings, so there's multiple uses for the least amount of effort put into that line, like, and that's what I find, that with the poetry that I've written, it is seriously like you could interpret each line in multiple ways, and the things that I put in each line can literally take you to a different space to give you an entire another information packet. And then it is so interesting how, like, I see it kind of sorted, like, so in my poetry, you know, I use like a phrase or a saying, and so my poem in itself can have like an outline meaning, but in each of these things it's kind of a little link to something with that much more meaning, and it's also showing you that there is a link to this and this and this. I'll have to try and figure out a way to explain it a little bit better, but it is like choose your own adventure with how you interpret my poetry. And gosh, so much. Okay, so I'm getting to look at Shakespeare. All Shakespeare's plays have now been starting to be interpreted by someone, I can't remember his name, but I have looked at interviews with him, that there's so much of Shakespeare's work that has these hidden messages in them, of, I think that the mathematics and the lines, rhymes, the things we read in between the lines, the games they play, to say g'day. So we wish to say g'day all the families that play with letters. It's better to give us a go. Now you know. We meet on the hill. That one tree. That one tree hill. Uphill. Oracle. Oh my god, sorry. It's just like, it's literally all coming in today, and it's like, it can be a beautiful on. The more like I try, it kind of stops the flow. So you gotta know, go slow. Where was I? Oracle of Delphi. So there is a book, Pythism, which links autistic people and how they are it's just a different level of consciousness, right? And there's different, the spectrum of autism is where you are at in that consciousness, unconscious, it's not unconscious, it's the consciousness level, awareness level. It's really hard to explain. Like the book Pythism explains it, the telepathy tapes explain it. If you want to know more, look into both. Alright, so how I would explain it. So there is the lake. The lake is all the stuff that, you know, the unconscious mind, the extra conscious, whatever you want to call it. It is that space we go when we're asleep. It's the space where these messages come from. I mean, you might think of it as the golden lake that Dolores Cannon spoke about, like where we all come from, right? That's, the lake is source consciousness or whatever, but like when we're in our bodies type thing, awake, so there's the surface of the water. Imagine under all the water is that other space, and when we're awake, it's like we're above the water. Even if you want to imagine, it's just like, so when you wake up, your head's above the water and you can't even, or maybe imagine you're flying or something, right? So you're literally, when you're awake, you're above the water maybe, so you're like a bird, right? And you don't go, the bird doesn't, imagine you're a bird that doesn't go in the water. So normal people, when they're awake, they're flying above the lake, and they can't really, they might be able to see that the lake's there, but not connected to it. So that's the normal person. That's one end of the spectrum, right? And then there are the birds that can dive and then come out and catch a fish, and then there's a bird like the penguin that can spend quite a bit longer underwater than the other birds, but they don't really fly, so they're lower on the spectrum. Not lower, but it you know what I mean. I'm not saying anyone's higher or lower, it's just, you know, from away from the lake. So a penguin spends a lot of time in the lake, but the majority above water during their waking state. And then there are what's the name? It's like I guess from penguin to a flying fish. That's like the opposite of a penguin, right? It's a fish, but it actually comes out of the water every now and then. And then there's a normal fish, maybe takes a little breath up and then goes back down, like a goldfish, or you know, they come up to the surface every now and then. And then there's the fish that don't come to the surface. So basically I kind of visualize, like I kind of think of it as, with me, for example, I've always been on the surface of the water. I'm in both. That's literally like I'm snorkeling, you know, like I'm the penguin, or I'm the penguin. And I don't know what it's like to be a bird flying up there, but I can relate because I'm a bird, but I kind of almost relate more to the fish. I can absolutely understand what it's like to be a fish because I'm under there swimming next to them. I'm sorry sometimes, and I think this is kind of showing you the expression of how hard it is for an autistic person to sometimes get what is in their head verbally out. It doesn't mean that we're stupid. It just means that I'm blowing bubbles right now. I'm snorkeling trying to talk to you. And that's why sometimes, even if we really want to interact and talk with people or whatever, sometimes it's just so hard, or what we say is completely misinterpreted because our brains are literally, we're looking down at the entire sea right now. Breathing through a snorkel is not that easy, and I've been kind of understanding this a little bit more about myself since I listened to those telepathy tapes and really related my experience in life with a non-verbal autistic person. I have always really struggled to express myself, like get the words that I want to get out. There's just something that kind of gets in the way, and I have actually always found it easier to write than speak. And the frustration of being awkward or not being able to just get out what I want to say without going around in circles or going off on a tangent, or yeah, you know what I mean. I think a lot of neurodivergent people like struggle with that, like going off on tangents and taking a million times longer to explain something, which I'm doing now, than needs to be taken. It's just difficult, and a lot of us tend to over-explain in order to get what we want to get out, and then by the end of that we're completely exhausted from trying to do that. And I kind of realized after listening to those tapes that maybe I kind of stopped trying because it was so hard. And that's why, you know, as a young child, trying to express what I was sensing or interpreting or what was going on inside me, it was either not understood by the people around me, or maybe criticized or weird, or the way I tried to get it out just didn't happen, and I just felt embarrassed or awkward, so I kind of shut it off about me expressing me. And then it's taken me my whole life, and to have the breakdown and then start learning about ADHD and neurodivergency and autism and what other people experience, in order for me to actually realize who I am. And if anyone out there relates to me at all, and like kind of feels similar, like understanding this whole thing, and what there's such a stigma around the names still, and the conditions or diseases or whatever they want to call them. It's not, because we are all on the spectrum, and I think that's what I'm trying to get at here, is that the spectrum of fish to bird, for example, there is many layers of that's the entire spectrum. I'm not saying there's just 3 different types of people like on the spectrum. I'm saying that literally every individual could present in a different sort of way, but basically some of us like have the ability to literally swim underwater and have that experience in our waking life, not just when we're asleep. And when you're asleep and you might have a dream or whatever, but you barely remember it when you wake up. Like with us, it's like we're always connected to it. And for me, I'm just starting to realize and understand what that is, and all my experience, like with the drawbacks or with the gifts associated like with that. So those tapes completely blew my mind, and and I am just so glad that they've been made, because I think everyone should listen to it, because there's so much stigma around an autistic child or anything, and it's just like we need, and this is with everyone, right? It just came into my head then, that methods of communication and understanding that people communicate differently, and some people just need assistance to communicate more effectively. And what was I going to say then? To have some understanding with it all, because there is, I don't know where I was going with that. Recall. Okay. Okay. I'll just go skip what I was saying then. I'll go to that Pytheism book, which pretty much talks about similar thing. I haven't even read it. I only read like first chapter, because I got so blown away by the understanding of the metaphor of how some of us are just naturally connected by where we're at on that spectrum. And so in the Pytheism book, they talk about Pythia, which was like the Oracle of Delphi. And when I've checked out like the Oracle of Delphi, it could even be in that book. I can't remember where I get this the knowledge from when I'm reading things. Anyway, so like the Oracle of Delphi, that was a position in the Temple of Apollo or something in Greece. But anyway, that was a position held for many, many, many years. So it wasn't just one person. And I don't know, the priest or whoever went into the town, the villages, and chose the young girls who had the ability, that spark, were able to be oracles. And pretty clear to me now that they chose the most neurodivergent child out there, and I guess trained work with in order to get that girl to tap in, to give them information from the lake. Now, I hope that was a nice experience. I hope it wasn't demanded of them or anything like that. I have heard that a lot of children that are gifted have been used and abused in this way. Yeah, so I mean, that just goes to show that they've been aware of it for forever, and yet, God, I'm so sorry, my mind is literally all over the show today. It's like I'm floating on the surface but getting crashed by the waves every now and then. And then, it all goes. Maybe I am being this like this because I do get like this, and it's can be quite difficult to go about your normal life being in this like in between, and that is my struggle, and that's so many. Mainly I've read about all autistic women being like late diagnosis. A lot of women get diagnosed in their 40s because it's just like they've tried to fit in with normal society for their whole lives, and their literal bodies and minds reach a state of overwhelm where they just break. And that's what happened to me. And it's really interesting. I started reading these stories as it was happening to me, and I think that's what was a very empowering thing to me. It was like led to me as I was going through it, which is just another blessing from the universe. Oh God, it's really and I guess it's like my flow probably doesn't make sense to a lot of people, and I've got this imprinted that by me doing me however it comes out is wrong, and so every time this kind of thing happens, I feel like I'm not right, like I'm hopeless or stupid, can't get it right, or and that's kind of what people like I have kind of felt and dealt with our whole lives, because some people are judgmental, and some kids are made fun of when they just don't quite fit in, and so we've tried so hard our whole lives to fit into some mold that we just don't fit in, and I'm still getting over it now, and trying to accept that the way I experience reality and the way I express myself and what my flow is beautiful, and to accept that as me, as by being me, is doing a beautiful thing, like that's all that's expected of me, is to be me in whatever way I am. And I guess that is a message for everyone as well. Like, we all try to fit into some mold, and God knows whose mold that was made from, because I don't know, it reminds me, I just had that image of, you know, the ladies with the feet from China or something, that they boiled their feet, like heated them up and then folded them in order to fit into a size like 3 shoe or some ridiculous thing. Like, they literally, what's the word, deform themselves in order to fit into someone's idea that small feet were good. And we all do that to a certain extent, as like chopping parts of ourselves off, hiding parts of ourselves in order to squeeze into this mold that no one even knows what that is. And God forbid if something sticks out of that mold. Like, we're taught that, I don't know, freaking, why are we taught that you know, what is normal, what is perfect, what is this mold that everyone's trying to be, that all the focus goes on that, and we all forget who we are, or we have to chop off so many bits of ourselves, or the, you know, to try and fit into that. And yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I'm just feeling the sensations of a little bit of shame by me not being able to express myself properly right now, while I was talking. So yeah, that's like a thing that so many of us have to deal with. Yeah. Okay, so have I said what I wanted to say, guys? Oh. Alright, I was just thinking, like, the connections, telepathy. So these kids, they're non-verbal. The kids, like in the tapes, they talk about how they meet somewhere. They call it on the hill. So it's obviously in the other realms of unconscious realms. They meet, and they talk to each other, and they meet at a school. They meet at a school, and I've also heard this fact from spiritually awakened individuals who, either through meditation or in their sleep state, remember, or even being taken. So there's several different ways people have explained it, whether, you know, they have a visitor and they're taken to this place where they're taught things, and these kids explain the same thing, right? That they get taken, or they go to the school, I think in their sleep state, actually. Can't remember now. Listen to the tapes. Anyway, so it's not just the non-verbal autistic people talking about this place where they go to school and get taught some amazing universal information and creative. Like, this one kid said that they go there and there's all these hats lined up, and each hat represents someone, like a rider. Like, for example, Rumi. Like, Rumi's hat's sitting there, and one of the kids can go put Rumi's hat on, and all of a sudden that information is inside them. And, you know, other people have, you know, had this experience of going to class and learning things in that kind of space. And these people are like you or I, they're not non-verbal autistic, they just have been made aware or are aware that they've been taken to this place and they're learning things. I've had one dream where I remember sitting in this space. It was more like a monastery, kind of thing. God, how to explain it? Like a Tibetan monastery. That was the vibe of the place, and I was talking to like a Tibetan monk type man. I'm thinking the name, I don't know how to pronounce it properly, but Wakul. I never remember how to say his name, so I always say like DJ Cool. Anyway, I remember the dream where I was talking to this man, and it was like a therapist's appointment. It was like we were discussing psychology, relationship dynamics, type thing. Yeah, and I kind of, I don't know, you know, if it's the same place, but I'm kind of linking my experience that I do believe that we don't just sleep when we're asleep. What a waste of time that would be for our souls. You know, like these kids remember it all because it's like they're always in the lake, so they could literally, they don't forget, but they are cursed or whatever with the being silent when they wake up. And you know, so it's almost like their souls have chosen like to have that experience in order to be under the lake in flesh form. I don't know if there's a reason for it. It just came to me, but I mean, having that experience, like literally they can be friends with people that they've never met because they can literally communicate and talk in this, through the space, and they're literally telepathic, so they can read like their parents' minds and each other's minds. Like that isn't like natural for them because they're under there, and the people that are birds and always way up here are so far away from that experience of being a fish that they can't imagine that that's even possible, and that's where we've made some mistakes in the past. And I think that's why the gift of being on the surface, like a neurodivergent, someone that is having both experiences, maybe not on to the same level, but we are more in the middle, so we can actually relate to both sides, you could say. And like I've kind of said before, like I feel like my masculine and feminine has always been really balanced, but whether it's masculine and feminine, or like my experience of being, my consciousness is in a balanced state on the spectrum, like I'm under and like above and below, and so I can literally relate to both sides, and masculine and feminine. Like I find it really easy to relate to a man's experience and a woman's experience, and so I can relate to both sides of the argument from a masculine point of view or a feminine point of view. And I think that is a real blessing for individuals such as myself, and I think that is like we really have the ability to bring people together through teaching and mediating, modulating the vast spectrum differences that we experience in society today, like the differing viewpoints, that everything, you know, the dual nature of this existence or whatever, the black and white thinking, or him versus her, or them versus them. Someone that is generally can see all sides is quite useful for many different things. And that's kind of been my experience. I haven't been able to fit into normal society rules. And so I do struggle with that. And oh God, I'm going off on a tangent. Oh well. I'm just fighting with the idea whether to scrap this video or like turn it off now. And you know, even like making this decision, I don't know. I'm in one of these states today where I'm just like, what? Like, I'm still swimming. Part of me is still underwater. And this is what it kind of feels like sometimes. It's like sometimes I've got my head up and I'm more up than down. And then there's other days where I feel like I can't quite get my head up out of the water. And so it changes. And that's really hard to understand for an individual who hasn't learned about what all this is. I've given myself hell over my entire life because of these states, and not being able to fit in or make myself get out of this state. When it comes, like it's like a tide. Sometimes it's a high tide and my head just doesn't come up, and other times it's a low tide and I try really hard to get in and I can't get in. And yeah, and it's really hard as well because I so want to explore under the water, and I'm being called to explore some more, that it's safe to do so, and then bring it up and tell everyone about it. But it's still there's all these the conditioning that I've had from the birds, and you know, my whole life trying to be a bird, a flying bird. My whole life trying to fit in with the pack. You know, to fit myself into that mold is still creeping in and holding me back from allowing me to just fully go explore. like it's got to be a certain way and stuff like that, and like I've got to express it in a way that the birds can understand. Maybe I'm not meant to be telling the birds, maybe I'm meant to be telling the other penguins like myself, so they can feel seen and heard and they understand what I'm going through, and maybe we can become friends. And yeah, because it is really hard to relate to people that are birds, or, and obviously I haven't met any fish, you know what I mean, but you know, maybe I'm more of a flying fish than a penguin. Maybe I go in between penguin and flying fish because I've found it really hard my whole life to actually relate to any bird. Maybe I am more fish than bird. Maybe I've just got some big wings. Maybe like I'm a manta ray, or should I know, a sailfish. Metaphors as well. Like I work in metaphors, and okay, I'm gonna have to get off because I am all over the show today. I guess this is an example of what it's like to be me. You never know what you're going to get with this sort of thing. Some days I'm very switched on, and other days I'm very under the water. And it's not a bad thing, and I think that's what I'm trying to get at and like learn and accept within myself as well, is that my flow is very different from one day to the next, and I don't control the flow. I can manage the flow, but it's easier if I just go with it and accept it for what it is and who I am. And there's beauty to all the states that I can be in, and not try and fight it, because if I try and fight it, or if I don't accept it and just go with whatever, I can really tear myself apart, get frustrated, and feel really bad about myself. And I'm trying to break all those patterns. Anyway, I'll leave it there for today.